We reached out to Mr. Who's the Boss to find out what he would put into his dream smartphone. In this video, we're going to cover all the specs, how much it would cost, and we even got one of our community members to mock it up for us.
Whoever's done this is insanely talented.
So, let's get into it. Mr. Who's the Boss, aka Arun, has reviewed thousands of devices over his career, so we were really curious to find out what specs he would prioritize if he was to develop his own smartphone. Normally when we make these videos, the creator will send over a bullet point list of specs they want to include in their smartphone, but Arun, being quite the overachiever, sent us 2.5 pages of demands that we had to decipher. We also hopped on the call to clarify a few details, but the summary of what he's after is as follows.
People already spend a lot of money on their phones, but there doesn't really exist something right now which is like, you don't want to use a foldable, but you still want to invest a lot of money in your phone experience because it matters to you, because you love it.
So basically, Arun wants to spend a lot of money where every penny is invested into the most premium experience. Sounds simple enough, right? We shared this with all the experts here at Nothing to find out what it would take to make his dream phone come to life. To start us off, Arun wants to include Qi 2.2 wireless charging for his device. For those who don't know, Qi 2.2 is a new wireless charging standard which allows for faster charging speeds, better efficiency, and allows devices to remain compatible with Apple's MagSafe. Well, that sounds simple enough, right? But in reality, at the time of recording, there's only 2 brands that have tackled the full Qi 2.2 certification with magnets. That's HMD with their Skyline and Google with their new Pixel 10 lineup. So why haven't other brands done this yet? I do actually know, but I'm not going to tell you until you subscribe.
You proud of that?
What? Anyway, we spoke to Big Dog Raymond and he explained everything we needed to know, but first, a bit of context. Wireless charging works through electromagnetic induction. Inside the charging pad is a coil of wire. When alternating current flows through the coil, it produces an oscillating magnetic field. Your phone also has a coil of wire inside, and when it's placed on the pad and the coils aligned, the magnetic field induces an alternating current in the phone's coil. The phone's electronics then convert this current into direct current, which charges the battery. Isn't science great? Anyway, when you're using a normal wireless charging pad, often the alignment with your phone isn't great, so at best you're going to get 15 watts of wireless charging. That compared to the 65 watts you could be getting with a cable on phone 3, well, it's just not that compelling of an option, especially when you consider that it also generates additional heat. MagSafe and Qi 2 remedy this by adding magnets, which means that your 2 coils are more perfectly aligned. This optimized configuration means that you get much more respectable charging speeds, up to 25 watts, and it also means you get to stick cool accessories on the back of your phone. Isn't that nice? Now, onto the main question, why don't more phones have this? The sad reality is it's down to legal red tape, industry politics, and a whole load of bullshit. Even though Qi 2 is a wireless standard that anyone can use, the magnet configurations that optimally support Apple-compatible wireless chargers are patented and restricted. The only way to get around this is to develop your own magnetic wireless charger to work with your device. But because the magnets in your device are not the exact same configuration as Apple's MagSafe, there's a good chance that the coils may not be perfectly aligned and you won't get the optimized charge speed and you'll generate more heat. So it seems a lot of companies have probably weighed up the pros and cons of doing this, but the reality is, it's just not worth it for them, especially when wired charging solutions are so much faster. When we asked our team how much it would cost roughly to develop our own wireless charging system, they estimated it would be about $10 million. But look at the name of the video. This is Arun's dream phone, so of course we're going to do it by adding $10 million to the pot, plus an additional $4 for the charge coil. Next up, we have cameras, and for this, Arun requested the same system as the Xiaomi 15 Ultra because he likes the style of the images. Now, we haven't really gone into this before on the channel, but there's loads of reasons why image styles differ between different brands. Phone camera sensors don't have the luxury of size compared to their DSLR or mirrorless counterparts. For example, the Phone 3 has a 1/1.3-inch main sensor that measures about 9.8 by 7 millimeters. That's tiny compared to the camera we're filming on right now, which has a full frame sensor that measures 35.6 by 23.8 millimeters. So how do phone brands keep up with such a big size difference?
Come on now, dog. Come on, man.
Over the past 20 years, smartphone cameras have closed the gap considerably, partly due to advancements in hardware, but mostly due to something called computational photography. This translates to a bunch of algorithms which are used to enhance your photos. And it's these algorithms that are the main reason for different styles between brands. And the teams that make these ain't cheap. For example, here at Nothing, we have about 100 people in our camera team, which is tiny compared to Apple, which reportedly has a camera team of about 800 people. Isn't that more than like our whole company?
Yeah.
Oh! These teams worked for months to get the best out of a smartphone sensor. We tried to find out how many tuning versions we had during Phone 3's development, and Raymond's response was, it's hard, but basically a new version every day over the development period. And how long is that period? Well, about 6 months, which means before Phone 3 released, there had been 180 or more software versions for the camera, which is kind of nuts. Anyway, how much does this all cost? Well, for the MKBHD video, we bundled all of this into the research and development line item, and we also didn't account for staffing costs, but we're gonna rectify this now. So for camera tuning, it's gonna cost us 13.7 million. add that to the bill. So the next one's a little bit rogue, but it shows that Arun's thinking about the most premium smartphone experience. So this section's about customer service. Now, customer service is really important when you're thinking about buying a new smartphone. When you're spending so much money, you want to make sure that if the unthinkable happens, you're not going to be left in the lurch. Arun wants to make sure there's someone available 24/7 on the phone in case he faces any problems with his device. Now, we actually already offer this service at nothing for our English-speaking customers, but for this to be a truly global and premium experience, we just have multi-language support all the time. So we're going to calculate for that. He also pointed out that it would be nice to have a single point of contact across your entire customer service journey. And we think this is fair because at some brands you end up speaking to multiple agents across the journey, and that kind of sucks. Anyway, enough of all the boring logistics. How much is this all going to cost? Well, typically phone companies will attribute about 5% of a device's revenue to customer support. But for this enhanced experience, we're going to have to bump that up to 7%. Now that might not sound like much, but when you multiply that across several devices and consider the material cost of the phones themselves, this is all going to add up. And with all the premium materials in this phone, that's going to add about $80 to the unit cost, which will support the phone across 7 years. Now, we've done a few of these videos at this point, so I don't need to tell you the cost of all of the individual components in a smartphone, but we're going to put them on screen for you now. One thing to note is that Arun asked us to include the Snapdragon 8 Elite chipset, but we know they normally release an improved chip around October, so we'll jump ahead and add that in, which increases the price to around $200. That gives us a grand total BOM of $1,163. But to develop out and improve all of the other elements like customer service, camera, and all the other R&D, the whole project would come in somewhere around $26,350,000. Now you might have noticed a little asterisk in there, but don't worry, we're going to cover that at the end of the video. Okay, now the money chat's out of the way, it's time to show the big dog his final design. Thankfully, he gave us plenty of references, saying he likes the angularness of the Turing phone and the visor-like camera bar of the old Pixel 6 phones. Pairing those with a quad curve display, he gave our designer a bit of a challenge in bringing this to life. We're pretty happy with how it turned out, but we're curious to see if it's anything close to what Arun envisioned, so let's see what he has to say.
Whoever's done this is insanely talented. Oh my god. So yeah, it's a very interesting mix of curvature with geometry. It's completely nailed that like cyberpunky aesthetic I was trying to go for.
It was quite an extensive brief. It had good references, just some big elements to get in there. Obviously the visor of the Pixel, and then your Turing phone with a lot of kind of geometric references, which isn't like a huge departure from how we do phones anyway.
It's easy to forget that this isn't just a render that's been smacked together. This is actually like a calculated process.
Is it safe to say you'd be a customer if this was released?
Hell yeah. There's things I would tweak. Something about the corners isn't hitting for me right now. I think I've seen Huawei doing a sort of waterfall type display, and I think they've managed to do it without those sort of corners. I suppose that makes it more fragile, but maybe I'd take that. Yeah, so I think I would have gone all sort of melt around display. There's very little else. I think the Pixel camera bar is perfect. You have my money. Actually, no. It depends how much it is. Tell me first.
For this phone to retail at $1,800 USD, the price for all of the specs you gave us and all of the premium materials would be $1,163 USD.
So it's actually a little bit less than I was expecting. I'm very curious to see what you've done with the software on this thing.
Arun raises a pretty good question. Remember that asterisk from earlier? Well, in the original brief, he asked for a fully custom OS as well. So we're going to do a part 2. This one's going to be all about software. So be sure to subscribe and we'll catch you next week.